So I'm really excited about tonight's class. This is the fourth class of Body, Mind, and Spirit. We're going to talk about food, the body, and the purpose of plants, animals, the things that we eat in the bigger picture of our life. And it's actually very exciting because there's 4 dimensions to how a person can have fulfillment in his life. And we usually only focus on one dimension of it. That's the human aspect, our relationship with humans. But there's a relationship that we each have with animals, relationship that we have with the plant kingdom, and the relationship that we have with inanimate objects that allows us actually to grow faster and receive the fulfillment that we're looking for. So this is kind of how it works. These are the upper 3 dimensions, and they represent like a complete connection to the light force. We cannot achieve these levels. These are not human achievable levels. We can draw from the levels. We cannot actually go there and achieve the levels. So, but the lower 7 apply to us in a very big way. And it says that the sin of Adam, Adam and Eve, when Adam and Eve were created, the sin that they did, the lack of restriction, basically caused a shattering of their vessel. And all the sparks of light that were in these 7 dimensions, they were shattered and released out into the world. Okay? Everyone following me? There were sparks of light. Adam and Eve represent these 7 dimensions. And after their sin, they gave away all the sparks of light. Now, where or to whom did they give these sparks of light to? That's the question. Where? To the other side, to the impure system, to the opponent. But imagine this. Imagine that after the sin of Adam, what happened was these 3 were protected. These 3 are a very high level of energy. Nothing happened to them. But these 7, they shattered. All the sparks of light fell into our physical world, and they fell in a very unique way. Okay? So imagine we take these sparks of light, and we shatter them, and then they fall to this world. We have 4 different, I'm going to do this, 4 different containers by which these sparks can fall. Okay? You with me so far? All right. Where are those papers? Under here. Interesting. Where did they go? Oh, here we go. The 4 places that they fell were in the 4 different kingdoms. Human. Okay. I'm going to just put this up here. I know this is not the ideal podium for this. We have the animal kingdom. Okay. Just put it like that. The plant kingdom. And the inanimate kingdom. All of these kingdoms now have the sparks of light that fell. By the way, some of them actually fell beyond those kingdoms into the depths of the negativity. But that's not for us right now. And they went into the little kingdom. Our job now is when I come to this world, I need to play a game of like a scavenger hunt, yes? How many people have ever been in a scavenger hunt? Raise your hand. What is a scavenger hunt like? It's exactly what it sounds like. You're like a scavenger. You need to go and grab all the items in order to finish your game. So what our job is, we need to go to all the kingdoms that apply to us and grab all the sparks of light. Now here's the amazing thing. The sparks of light that we need to achieve a certain level of fulfillment, peace of mind, love, health, whatever it may be, exist in all these kingdoms. So in Kabbalah 1, what do we teach people? Do we teach people anything about the plant, animal, or inanimate kingdoms? Yes or no? No, we just teach you how to relate to human beings, right? That's what we call tikkun. What do we call it? We call it tikkun, right? When you have someone that bothers you, we say you have a tikkun with this person. You have a correction that needs to be made. What does it mean, a correction? When something bothers you, it means that there's a spark of light that exists in this person. So if something annoys you or someone annoys you, there's a spark of light that exists in that person opposite than you. Now, if you want to just ignore them and walk away from it, that's fine, but you don't get the spark of light that they're holding that belongs to you. And you need that spark of light. You need that spark of light. That's why many times in the beginning of the day, when you say, I want more fulfillment, I want an answer to my problems, what the Creator sends you are all 4 kingdoms that hold your sparks of light. That means that the food that you're served, wherever you go to eat, has a spark of light that was meant for you. So whatever food comes to you, animal food, or if it's plants, or even what's an inanimate type of food? Grains? How about salt? Yes? How many people have salt in their food? Can you believe that that salt that's in your plate has your sparks of light? It's just an amazing consciousness to have, that everything that comes to you has sparks of light that you need to finish your tikkun. Now, if you're not aware of it, you don't get it. That's the thing. So just by being conscious of that, we realize that everything that we interact with on a daily basis contains sparks of light. We need to know how to extract those sparks. In Kabbalah 1, 2, and 3, we learn how to do that with humans. Right? Oh, you got an issue with your mother? That's what you got to do. You got an issue with your boyfriend? That's what you need to do. You got an issue with X, Y, and Z? Do restriction, take responsibility, why is it in your movie, etc., etc. And what happens? All of a sudden, miracles happen. You get these sparks of light. But with animals, how do you actually get these sparks of light? That's the question. Now, one of the ways is something called kosher animals. Okay, what are kosher animals? And this is something that very few people know about, and it's brand new. Kosher animals are animals that energetically come from the 7 lower dimensions. Okay? 7 lower dimensions. I got so many papers up here, I don't know what to do. I'll give you some example of kosher animals. All right? A kosher animal is an animal that has a split hoof, like split, you know what split hooves? Split hooves. And it chews its own cud, meaning it eats food, it throws it up, and then it eats it again. Right? Why? Why? The split hooves represent 2 columns, and the throwing up of the food represents the restriction. So it's a 3-column system that belongs to that animal. A pig, for example, does it have a split hoof? Yes or no? Yes, it does. That's why the pig is like has the ego of, hey, look, I'm a kosher. And he puts his foot out. But what does a pig not do? He does not chew his own cud, meaning he does not have the energy of restriction within him. That is why it is forbidden to eat pig, according to Kabbalah. So what energy is pig? Pig belongs to the energy of the higher 3 dimensions. So actually pig is a higher energy, an energy that's so high that if I eat it, will short-circuit my system. Because the energy is actually very high. You know, we say unkosher animals like shellfish and pig and all that stuff. We always think, oh, that's the low energy stuff. No, it's actually high energy. It's so high that we will never have a vessel in these 6,000 years of tikkun to be able to handle that energy. Now, here's what's interesting. It says that when the Messiah comes, when we all finish our tikkun and we correct all the 7 vessels again, right? We take all those sparks of light and we rebuild these 7 circles so everything flows nicely. You can have pig. You can have pig because after we finish our tikkun, then we start to access these dimensions. Oh, you can eat pig with a lobster in it, and you can eat everything you want. Because by then, your vessel will be pure enough to handle that energy. Does that make sense? It's an amazing concept. Now, a person who is not on the spiritual path, who doesn't care about restriction, who's short-circuiting every 5 seconds of the day anyways, will it make much of a difference if he eats pig? It will, but it's minimal. He won't feel the difference. But for us, it's going to make a big difference. It actually makes a big difference. So if I eat pig, it will cause an imbalance of my central column energy within me. So now, my question is, can we ever eat pig in this lifetime? No. Only after the energy of what's called Messiah comes to the world, which means our vessels are corrected, they're perfect, and that energy can come down. So I'll give you some example of kosher meat. Cows, sheep, goats, and deer are example of kosher animals. What's not considered mule? I don't think it is. What is a mule? A mule is a hybrid of a horse. Horse is not kosher. So no, actually, any animals that crossbreed and do that kind of stuff, you can't have their offspring. No, you can't. It's not. Doesn't work. Okay. Pigs. Now, what's not kosher? Pigs, rabbits, squirrels, bears, dogs, cats, camels, and horses. Birds? Certain birds are. So we're going to get to that. Now, in the Torah, it lists 24 non-kosher bird species. Okay? And one way to know if it's not kosher bird is if it's a scavenger type bird. Okay? If it's like a scavenger bird, like a bird that hunts and kills like other birds or other prey, that's an indication that it is probably not a kosher bird. Okay? Example of kosher birds are the domestic species of chickens, ducks, geese, turkeys, and pigeons. Are all good. No, not a New York City pigeon. I don't know. I don't know about that. Now, let's go to seafood. So there's certain seafood that belong to the higher 3 dimensions, meaning the energy will be so high that we won't handle it. And there's certain ones that will be of the lower 7, which I do want to eat because I can fix the lower 7 dimensions by eating it. See, that's what's amazing. By me participating in eating certain animals, certain plants, certain inanimate objects, I am rebuilding these 7 dimensions within the spiritual worlds. Because what's the problem? Why don't we have miracles and wonders in the world on a daily basis? Because the spiritual plumbing is what? It's clogged. It's broken. The plumbing is clogged, right? It's like the faucet's open, but the pipes are all messed up. So we don't actually get the flow of light in. Now, whenever I do a major restriction or I fix something in my soul, that day I have miracles. Why? Because that day I fix the spiritual plumbing in my life and I contribute a little bit to the world. So when I wake up in the morning, if I don't do something outside of my comfort zone to fix the plumbing, I will not have blessings on that day. Does that make sense? Every day we start with broken plumbing. That's the way the day starts. We must actively search for ways to fix, like you need people. You need a poor person to give to. Because if you don't find a poor person, or if you don't find a challenging situation that's outside of yourself, you just will have broken plumbing. Now, if you had a good day, so where did you get I want to know where you got your sustenance from. So you got it from the other side. Okay? Whenever you have a good day, but you did nothing out of your comfort zone, it means that the miracle came from the other side. Or maybe from something good you did a long time ago, but I would always look at it from, wait a minute, I didn't create anything today, so what's the point? Yeah?
So what about when you hear that red meat is bad, or it takes 3 days to digest red meat or something like that, it's worse for you and heart conditions, stuff like that, but that's kosher. How do you know or decipher what's actually?
Okay, and the question was some people say red meat's bad for you, this type. Now, what the outside world says, obviously there's validity to that too, and we all need to eat what's good for our health and what's good for our body. Like most Kabbalists, I think like the Ari, he would never eat meat at all during the week, but on Shabbat he would have a little piece of meat, right? Which I'm sure in the 1% world they would say that's not such a bad thing. Have one little piece of meat on Shabbat. Because the energy of Shabbat is so powerful that it elevates any judgment that's within that meat. It just elevates it. And it goes and it fixes these spiritual worlds. So it's an amazing. So we're going to get to the different times of eating food, but now let's go with fish and seafood. All right, a water creature is kosher only if it has fins and scales. Okay, because the scales represent the central column, the fins represent the other columns. We have a 3-column system. So salmon, these are kosher fishes. Salmon, tuna, pike, flounder, carp, and herring are examples of kosher fish. Now, what's not kosher? Catfish, sturgeon, I don't know what that is, swordfish, lobster, shellfish, crabs, and all water mammals are not. Okay? Like sharks would not be. I think there's a debate about sharks, but I think sharks is no. Eel, shrimp, no. No. Oysters, no. There's no scale in an oyster. Sardines are okay. Sardines are okay. All right? All reptiles, amphibians, worms, and insects, with the exception of 4 types of locust, are not kosher. Okay? It's actually very negative to eat insects. That's why one of the things when you go to a kosher restaurant, what they do is they soak the salad in salt water for a certain amount of time to ensure all insects are killed. Because if you eat a live insect, I think even a dead insect, to be honest with you, because what are insects? Insects only feed off of waste, feces and waste. That's where you see, where do you see flies? You see them, not with the roses. You see the flies with the feces. So what are they? Their job is to clean up and absorb our negative energy. So if you eat them, you're putting that back in your system. Right? So it's a major short circuit to eat insects. So remember that show, Fear Factor? You remember that show, Fear Factor? Right? I always thought, if they asked you to be on that show, what would you do? You have to eat huh?
Sorry, it's not kosher.
Yeah, it's not a kosher show. There's always one part of the show where they make you eat something that's horrible. It's horrible. Yes. Grasshoppers? No. Insect. Cannot have grasshoppers. Cannot have snails. Cannot have escargot. No. Yeah.
So the animals are the 3-column system and the fish are 3-column system like the birds, correct?
Yes, the birds also are the 3-column system. Those birds that I mentioned are part of the 3-column system. I'm going to get into it more and more. Now here's the other thing. I'm just sharing with you facts about what the laws of Kabbalah say. Every single person should consult their own teacher. This is for everyone in the video as well. You consult your own teacher about what's right for you. Okay? Because again, jumping in and doing all these spiritual laws all of a sudden can also be a shock to the system. All of a sudden you're drawing all this light. Everything needs to be done in a balanced way. I myself did everything in a balanced way. Step by step. Don't go crazy all of a sudden and say, oh, he said it's negative, so I'm not doing it anymore. It's not about that. It's about having consciousness behind the things that you do. If you want to have a lobster, go have a lobster. But just also be aware of the energy that's coming in. The awareness will protect you a little bit more than if you just ate a lobster with no awareness. Does that make sense? Consciousness is your buffer here. Your consciousness is your protective layering. All right? Take a moment now. Share the concepts you learned with the person sitting next to you, please. Now, let me share with you some more things. Now, eating an animal, let's say you don't eat meat. What do? Eating an animal is not the only way to elevate sparks or souls from the animal kingdom, right? We all need sparks from all the kingdoms in order to finish our tikkun. So, for example, if you have a pet, how many people have pets? Okay, if you have a pet animal, or any kind of pet for that matter, you are elevating the sparks of that animal. You're allowing the animal to serve his master, right? Remember those commercials where the guy trains the dog to grab the beer from the fridge? Remember those Budweiser commercials? It's all Kabbalah. He just sits on the couch watching a football game. He tells his dog to go. The dog opens the fridge, grabs a Budweiser, brings it to his master. Good boy. Finishes his tikkun. Okay? Having pets. Now, with plants, same thing. Anytime you nurture plants, like let's say, why the plant trees in Israel, right? You're planting trees. What the plant kingdom gives back to the world, right? It takes in the carbon dioxide, right? That's what it takes in. Carbon dioxide, right? And it gives out the oxygen that we breathe. So it's a balanced energy. We have a give and take relationship. So people who have plants, who nurture plants, is a very positive thing. You elevate sparks of light. Of course, digesting the plants is the best thing. We learned that anything you eat, especially in the plant kingdom that's green, is very positive because green is the color of restriction. So it's digesting the energy of restriction. That's why it's always good to have a salad before you eat any kind of food. It's always green juice, the best. Let it go into the system. All right? There's a lot of details of kosher. I don't want to get into it, but those are the main points. Those are the main points about kosher. Oh, something else about kosher meat. Kosher meat, here's the thing. It has a soul in it, right? So when the animal is killed in a non-kosher way, it's butchered, and the animal feels pain. Now, let's start with the 1%. Medical science will say that when the animal feels pain, there's a huge surge of adrenaline and all these chemicals are released into the meat itself. So from that point of view, it's not healthy. Kosher is that they take a very sharp knife and they check the knife. The knife has to be very specific. And it's cut, and the animal is killed on a part of its throat that is very specific where it will feel no pain. It won't even feel like it happened. The animal dies instantaneously, okay? And at that moment, the soul elevates. The animal feels no pain, so there's no actual 1% chemicals being released. But also, because there's no pain, the soul can elevate. And that's why when we have kosher meat, we're protected from digesting the tikkun of the animal's soul. In a non-kosher meat, the meat is holding hostage the soul or the tikkun of the animal. That's why by eating it, we take upon the tikkun of the animal. Does that make sense? Okay, that's the power of kosher meat. All right, it's obviously more expensive for that reason, that it goes through this process. Then there's kosher meat and there's glatt kosher. Glatt kosher is the one that we follow. Glatt means that after they kill it in that way, then they open it up. They check to see that all the organs are intact. There's no diseases, there's nothing. Because if some part of the body is diseased or punctured, like in the liver, stuff like that, and the lungs, then it's like an imbalance of energy in the animal and it cannot be used. All right? So it's checked. Then there's a 72-hour process where all the blood is removed because the blood is what? Remember, it's connecting to the desire to receive for the self alone, the nefesh, the lowest part of the soul. So anytime we eat animal blood, it's very bad, very bad. It's like the animal soul is going into us. Right? We become more animalistic. So it removes all the blood, and then they salt it in a certain way to get all that blood out. And there's certain veins that they need to remove. That's like the sciatic, all these different things, because that's connected to the negative energy. And now you got a pure animal. Pure energetic animal, and that's kosher meat. All right? Yes?
I was wondering about fish. Like I think that some people who are usually like kosher, is it okay to eat fish that's not like glatt kosher? Even like, okay.
No. There's no such thing as glatt kosher fish.
Right. Just fish that has fins and scales. Any fish that has fins and scales, we can eat it, right?
I think so.
If it's not in a certain process.
No, fish doesn't need to go through any process. Fish does not need to go through any process. Yeah.
I have a question. So general kosher meat actually has the blood still in it then, if it's like non-glatt?
Most kosher meat, no. If it's not glatt kosher meat, if it's just kosher meat, it means that they didn't check inside to see. So there's a danger that it could be not kosher actually. All right? Yeah.
What's the Kabbalistic perspective on dairy?
On dairy?
Dairy with meat.
Okay, so another kosher law is about dairy and meat together. All right? That was the next thing I was going to say. Dairy, not a good color. So busy up here. I can take these down, man. Dairy, what color is dairy? White. Meat, what color is meat? Red. Dairy, white. It's the right column. So what is meat? Left. If dairy is the sharing, meat is the receiving. If the dairy is the plus, the meat is the minus. Okay, so on and so forth. That means that if I eat these two energetic forces together, I have again a plus and a minus connection, which creates a short circuit. So I need to create a filament that will separate the two energies and balance them. That filament is called 5 to 6 hours waiting. The restriction of waiting 5 to 6 hours to eat dairy after I've had meat is the restriction that is necessary in order to unify those energies together. And here's the other thing. If I eat dairy, how much longer can I have meat? Everyone says something different, but technically you can have it right away. Just wash out your mouth. Maybe it's good to wait 20 minutes or so. But dairy, because it's the energy of sharing and light, it goes in and it goes out. It doesn't stay with the person. It's pure. So you can have meat right after dairy. So you want to have a nice little cottage cheese, then steak, okay, that's fine. I'm not sure I would do it myself, right? Because, why run it so close? But technically you can. But if you have meat, if you have a nice little steak, and then they bring out the tiramisu or the whatever they bring out, and you're like, oh wait, I will create a short circuit by digesting this dessert now. So you can wait, there's different opinions, but we go by you can have it in the 5th hour. Okay? In the 5th hour leading up to the 6th hour, you can start to have dairy. All right? Some people like to wait past 6 hours, that's fine. Okay?
So from dairy to meat,
Dairy to meat is okay, just wait maybe half hour or an hour. But from meat to dairy, it's good to wait 5 to 6.
dairy to meat 1 hour.
Dairy to meat, let's say 1 hour. Okay.
Why is it 5 hours or 6 hours? Where did that come
6 is the number that always represents a level of restriction. Like we have 6 days before Shabbat. We had 6 days before, between the sin of Adam and Shabbat. We had 6 hours before Moses came down the mountain and they built the golden calf. 6 always represents the building of the vessel before the manifestation of any energy.
Why did we do 5?
Because in the 5th hour, it's like considered 6. It's like right now we have 6,000 years of tikkun. 6,000 years of tikkun. So we are now in the year 5,771. But it's also the time of Messiah. So the Messiah can come in any moment. Because it's the energy of the 6,000th year. It's already coming in. All right? Okay, I know you have a lot of questions. Let's move on. All right? Okay, let's go to the PowerPoint. Food, machal, it's the same letters as angel, malach. Now, what does that mean? So the Kabbalists say a person who knows how to eat the right food with the right consciousness will be protected by the angels. Okay? This person is surrounded by positive angels who support him in his process through life. This is an interesting fact. Next slide. Eating at the right time. The most powerful time is to eat, where you can elevate the most amount of sparks of light from the food, and you can create major positive energy in the world, is Shabbat. Holidays like Rosh Hashanah, not Yom Kippur. Actually, Yom Kippur, you also eat 5 spiritual meals. You just don't eat the food of them. Like Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot, Passover, Shavuot. These are all holidays. And the new moon, which happens every month. It's very important to break bread. Bread is the one food that energetically includes all the other foods on the table. So when a person blesses bread, it includes all the foods on the table. Wine is the most powerful liquid Kabbalistically. When a person does a blessing on wine and drinks wine, it covers all the liquids on the table. Okay? So what do we want to do on these holidays? We want to make sure that we have something called a seudah, which is like a meal. All right? But the word seudah comes from the Hebrew word which means like to support. So seudah is when we get with a group and we break bread. There's a very powerful energy of getting into a group and breaking bread. And what I'm about to tell you is going to shock you. In the Zohar it says that if someone is giving you evil eye or is not a good person or is jealous of you, you should run, I don't know exact wording, I'm paraphrasing, you should run away from this person and make sure you do not eat food with this person for fear of death. Why? sexual intercourse is the highest level of connection. The second highest level of connection is eating food with someone. Did you know that? When you have a meal with someone or a group of people, all your souls combine to be one. So you actually are absorbing the consciousness of whoever you eat food with. Isn't that amazing? That's why on Shabbat and every new moon we gather and we have a meal. We break bread. The breaking of the bread creates a wiring between everyone in the room, right? And that's why every time the Rav comes for Shabbat, the Rav and Karen come, or Michael and Yehuda come, or we always say, you want to do Rosh Hashanah with the Rav and Karen. Why? Because those connections, especially during the meal, but in the service themselves, all the souls become one. And it's one level lower than actual intercourse that is happening. So you start to absorb the consciousness of the people. That's the power of these meals. People say, Rosh Hashanah, what's the big deal? I'll do it with my Uncle Joe. Rosh Hashanah exists. Yeah, it's true. But that's the connection you make. For the entire year, the support system is the soul of Uncle Joe. As opposed to Rosh Hashanah, we really emphasize to people, come be with the group. It's the most important day of your life. Create this wiring of 3,000 people who schlepped from across the world, spent all this money, did all this restriction, did all this spiritual work. They're coming with amazing mindset to create the destiny of the new year. Those are the people you want to be around on that day. Because on that day, it's Judgment Day. Satan looks at you and says, who are you? What kind of a life are you going to have for the following year? You want to say, I'm with these guys. I'm with that guy up there. See that guy? We're together. Because it says on Rosh Hashanah, you get judged according to the highest soul in the room. That's why it's important to be around spiritual people on these days. These are the days, if your parents want to see you on these days, right? But here's what's interesting. Your parents will only want to see you on these days, on never and any other day. Actually, they say, don't come on any other day. Why? There's a power there. If your parents really, really want to make a connection, go see them every other day besides those days. Shabbats, holidays, new moons, try to be with a spiritual group and make that connection. Okay? All right. Oh, also, when you eat food at these days, there's many more sparks of light and angels that you can reveal that can be with you. All right. Here's something interesting. On Shabbat, there's certain types of foods that we always eat, and there's a reason why. Because the foods of Shabbat are building the 7 dimensions. Remember those 7 broken vessels I told you about? Shabbat is the 7th day of the week. That's why it's the most powerful day to rebuild our soul, to rebuild and fix the correction of the entire world and our own personal lives. A person who connects to Shabbat, it says that he has the wisdom for the entire week of how to correct his vessel. It's like you come, you learn the blueprint on Shabbat, and the blueprint stays with you for 7 days. And what's interesting is, and this is amazing, wine, which is yain, is 50, which is the nun. I'm sorry, the nun. It's not backwards. It's right. 50, 10, and 10. That equals 70. So we have 7 plus 0 is 7, right? Soup, you have total 340. 3 plus 4 is 7. We don't usually have soup on Shabbat, but we're supposed to. Meat, basar, numerical value 502. 5 plus 2 equals 7. Challah is 43. 4 plus 3 equals 7. Challah is the bread. And then you have fish, which is dag, is actual numerical value 7. And the meditation is, while I'm eating the fish, while I'm eating the meat, while I'm having the invisible soup, while I'm having the challah, while I'm having the bread, all of these things, it's consciousness. It's not just like, this is what we see people do. They go, they wash their hands, and just because they want to talk, they're rushing, diving for bread, saying a reactive blessing and shoving it in their mouth, and it's like, why? They become just like a religion, right? So you say, wait one second, what am I doing? These foods are building the vessels that were broken since the sin of Adam and Eve. It's fixing the piping of the spiritual world and fixing piping. My consciousness, does consciousness create reality? No or yes? So if you're thinking it, that's what's happening. If you're not thinking these things on Shabbat, it's not happening. It's amazing. We have to be so conscious, and that's when you feel high, by the way. When you start meditating on these things, then the angels come to you and you start elevating all these sparks of light, you start to feel connected to Shabbat. Because most people say, I don't feel connected to Shabbat. Once you start elevating these sparks, you're going to feel connected to Shabbat. You're going to feel it. You can't explain it. You'll just feel some kind of angel, these angels around you. Yes? During the week when you eat them, you still bless them and you meditate on them, but on Shabbat, it's like the most powerful. And that's why it says, the verse in Hebrew says, if you eat fish, which is dag, in the 7th day, which is dag, because seventh is Dalet and Gimel, 4 and 3. On Shabbat, you are protected from din gehenom, which is the judgments of hell, which is dag. Okay, so it's interesting. If you eat dag, on dag, you're protected from dag. Make sense? Okay, it's a cute little verse. All right? Basically, the fish has a very powerful energy on Shabbat. Even if you don't eat fish, just take a little and do it just for the connection. All right? Yes? The Rav would always have fish every meal, but the most important is the Friday night fish. And that's why we have the liqueur, right? The little alcohol, the little cups with alcohol. It's good after you eat the fish to not have any liquids besides the alcohol. Why? Because the fish has spark of light and it has a soul in it that you need that soul. Now, how do you get that soul out? Yes, eating it, blessing it. But the alcohol that we have after the l'chaim that we do, alcohol, when you put it in your mouth, what do you feel? Does it burn? Because it's fire. Alcohol is fire. Fish comes from water. When I have the fire after the fish, I take the fish out of the water and I fully extract the extra soul from the fish. And that's why we do l'chaim always after fish. Now the Rav would do it every meal, but most important is the Friday night meal. Okay? So that's something you meditate on. When you're having the fish, just make sure that the last bite of fish is followed by a little bit of alcohol. Even if your teacher doesn't do it at the table, you should do it. All right? Make sense? Great. Okay, before we get to that, take a moment now, share the concepts with the person sitting next to you. Yes?
On Shabbat, when you salt the bread, what's the meaning of that?
Okay, on Shabbat, we take the bread. What does the bread represent? The bread, how do you say bread in Hebrew? Lechem. Okay, numerical value, 78. Keep a note of that. Numerical value, 78. Take the bread. Where does bread come from? The wheat. Where does wheat come from? The ground. What does the ground represent? Desire to receive. So it is which left or right column energy? Left. Very good. Salt comes from ocean. The ocean. Energy of the ocean. Water, which is a right column energy. So we take the left column energy, and we have the right column energy called salt, and what do? We dip it 1, 2, 3 times in the salt. Why 3 times in the salt? We could go on like this forever. Each time I do this with my hand, I need to think something. What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of the name of God, the most powerful name of God, Yud, He, Vav, and He. Numerical value is 26. Right? This is the most powerful name of God. You've seen it before. In every prayer it says, blessed are you God, and it's that name of God. We don't even say it. We're not allowed to say it. It's so powerful. So when I'm dipping my selfish energy, which is the bread, into the salt, which is the sharing energy, I want to balance these two energies. I'm doing it 3 times because I'm connecting to 3 times the name of God. What's 3 times the name of God? 78, which is the same numerical value as and salt. How do you say salt in Hebrew? Also 78. Is that amazing? Is that amazing? It's crazy. It's all connected. Hebrew is like a perfect language. So when I'm taking the bread, I'm thinking, okay, here's my desire to receive. What am I doing? I need some salt. I'm dipping it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. 3-column system. The energy of the name of God 3 times. Bringing all this protection, balancing my energy. Great. I've now brought energy to the entire meal. Now I can enjoy Shabbat. That's why also wine, you don't see it. We do it before Shabbat. It's always good to put what in wine when you open the bottle? A drop of water. Wine is which column? Left. It's red. It's desire to receive. It draws energy. Water is right column, sharing, life, giving. Put a little drop, balance the energy.
But wine Havdalah, we don't put water in.
I don't want to get into it. There is on Havdalah, I don't want to get into it. Let's take, okay, let's move on. I can already see where it's going. Let's finish it. Keep your questions. Write your questions down. In the end, we're going to answer the questions. Now, before we go to the slide, I want you to look here. You have interaction with how many kingdoms? 4. Very good. You need those sparks of light. That means it's good to have pets, good to take care of plants, eat plants, inanimate object. You live in a home, yes? Yeah, these walls, that's inanimate. Meditate, these walls are serving me. I'm getting the sparks of light. It's consciousness. So everywhere I go, in fact, I see inanimate objects. I need to connect to the sparks of light that are there, right? Every time you go, for example, you go to a new country. I just decided to go to Spain. Why are you going to Spain? There's a reason why your soul decided, I saw an ad on Travelocity or Travel Zoo or something. And it said special deal, so I want, no. You saw it because your soul needed sparks of light that are in Spain. So you're going to Spain to get those sparks of light. Now, what happens when we get to Spain usually? Satan knows that you have sparks of light. So he makes sure it's the most reactive, selfish, me trip that exists. And that's why when people go on vacation, the energy to do stupid things exists much more than when you're at home. Right? Isn't it like when you're farther away somewhere, like you just feel like Satan is more powerful? And we justify it. It's far away from home. We justify it. And so that's amazing. If I'm going somewhere, I need to make sure I'm going for the right reasons. But once I get there, why am I here? My soul needs to do something here. One time the Rav was driving with a couple of teachers, and he stopped at this abandoned church and prayed there for like 2 hours at the church, in the middle of Mexico or something. So the Rav's crying and going through all this. The teachers don't know what's happened. For like 2 hours. And the Rav shared with them, bless you, that in a past life the Rav died here. And the Rav felt to get out to elevate his soul and to correct the sparks of light that were lost from a past life of his. And the Rav, there's many different amazing things that the Rav used to always say about past lives and reincarnation, and how a lot of people from the Kabbalah Center actually came from the Civil War, and the Rav, just interesting things. The Rav used to have straps of his tefillin that used to always cross like this. And he always had different things that the Rav would share that shared how a lot of people from the Kabbalah Center today came from the generation of the Civil War, and that we're all here now to fight a different type of a war. Okay, so with humans, through your tikkun with them, with animals, either by digesting the kosher ones, or having them as pets, plants, digesting or having them as pets, I guess. Inanimate, everywhere you go, you can elevate sparks of light. You missed the exit on the freeway? Who's missed ever an exit on a freeway? That's great. Why did you miss it? You missed it for a reason. You missed it because in that 1 mile stretch that you're cursing at everyone, that 1 mile is sparks of light to be elevated. That's why you missed it. No, I missed it. I need to elevate sparks of light. Just by being happy, doing restriction, you're grabbing those sparks. Yes? Very good. All right. Now, some other interesting facts. Whenever you eat more than you're hungry, anything beyond your appetite becomes klipot in the body and causes illness. And that's why when a person eats more than their hunger, they'll always be confused in the mind. And you'll see that before you eat, you're actually more sharp. You're more clear. But when you eat beyond your hunger, you start to become confused and reactive even. Just think about it. Because what happens when you eat more than your body needs, so this more extra food doesn't know what to do in the body. It's like a light without a vessel. So what it does is it takes from the body energy and spirituality to nourish it. So it takes away everything extra that you eat. Here's something interesting. The same way that peace and prosperity go hand in hand, hunger bodes strife and war. Okay, so hunger is related to war and strife, while peace and prosperity go together with like being content and full. Therefore, an addictive craving for food is a sign that one has external enemies that hate him. And by breaking one's craving for food, that means that anything you're addicted to, just to break it, you will create an energy of peace between you and those who hate you. There's an extra energy of peace that exists, which is an interesting concept. All right, something else to know. The tongue is Malchut, the lower world, and the upper palate is Binah, which is the higher three dimension, the third one. So every time my tongue touches my upper palate, it's a unification of light and vessel. So when we eat, that's one of the meditations, is that I'm unifying the light and the vessel. That's why if you stick your tongue out, I told you this before, and I pour a little bit of sugar on your taste buds, you won't taste it. Because you don't enjoy it until it touches Binah, until it touches the upper palate. Here's something else. The reason why God gave us teeth is for one reason. To chew food, which means to separate the sparks of light from the shells called the food itself. That's why it's good to chew your food a lot. Right? Remember the motto that we said? You need to eat your drinks and drink your foods. Let me say it again? You have to learn how to eat what you drink and drink what you eat. Does that make sense? No. How do you drink what you eat? You chew it until it's liquid. But when you got a liquid, you can't gulp it. You got to chew it slowly, like you would food. You have to kind of let it go down slow. Does that make sense? Did I lose all of you by now? I lost you at pig, right? I was like, I don't want to hear it anymore. Lobster? All right. Okay, now we're going to go into something that's very deep. What I'm about to share with you, I don't expect you to remember. I don't want you to remember. It's just, and it's very deep, and it's going to rattle your brain a little bit. It's going to expand your consciousness. So I want you to be ready for it. But I want you to see what happens every time you do bless something. And what's the point of blessing something? Even though you're not going to remember the details, what you will remember is that something powerful is happening. And that alone is enough. To know that something powerful is happening is enough. You don't need to always know the details. Okay? Before I show you the slide, I have to give you a little introduction. Okay. These two energies here, this is called Chokhmah, which is the father, and this is called Binah, which is the mother. This is the mother and father of all the energy that flows down into our world. It says that the mother and father are always together. And that's why, for example, when someone has divorced parents, it says that it's harder. It's harder to have that energy of spirituality. Like you have to fight for it more. You have to do more work, which could be a great thing. But it means that because the spiritual mother, the physical mother and father are separated, it means I have to work harder to create a union in the spiritual mother and father. Does that make sense? All right, now how do we do that? Did you ever take those science classes about the circle of life, evaporation, condensation, and then Precipitation. Raise your hand if you have no clue what I'm talking about. Raise your hand if you're embarrassed to raise your hand. All right? I'll show you here. What happens? Let's say you have a pool of water here. When the heat hits the water, what happens to it? It evaporates. Very good. Evaporation. When it evaporates, it forms clouds. What are those clouds called? They condense. Condensation. Then, after they condense and they form the clouds, what do? They rain down, and that's called precipitation. The spiritual worlds work exactly the same way. Every word that you say goes up into the upper worlds and either blocks the pipes or opens the pipes. Every word you say. And guess what? If you say negative words, in general, it's bad. But if you say negative words around birds, it's even worse. Birds. Birds, when they chirp, they're telling the upper worlds what you just said. That's what it says. Interesting fact, right? Birds are ratting on you. So they fly and they chirp. The chirping is sending signals to the upper world. It's very positive to have birds, actually. It's actually very positive, but that's what the birds do. Okay? So every word goes up, when you speak, it evaporates, it condenses, and then it comes back to you as like acid rain. That's what happens when we speak negative words. Now, when we do blessings, here's a whole other process, amazing process. So let's say I'm going to drink this juice right here, this green juice. I'm going to drink it. I'm going to meditate with no blessing that I'm elevating a spark of light. So what happens is, I elevate that spark of light. That's great. I get a spark of light. But what if I bless it and meditate to elevate it? What happens then? That's what we want to know. Okay? What happens when I bless the food? My words go up to the upper worlds, and they create a union between, I hope you're following me, the mother and the father. When the mother and father join together in an intercourse, they bring light and energy and offspring to the world. And this is how it works. Okay? Every blessing starts with the word Baruch. Baruch connects us to the dimension called Binah. Okay? So basically, in the Baruch, the Chokhmah and Binah are coming together already. So I'm already creating a union of energy by the word Baruch. All right? Again, we don't bless food to bless God. God doesn't need our blessings. This is a technology of me sending my words. How many of you believe that your words have power? Yes or no? Yes. Even when no one's in the room, they have power, right? People who don't believe in the light of the Creator, people who don't believe in the light of the Creator, people who don't believe in spirituality do believe that their words have power. So where do your words go? They go to the upper world, they do their thing, and they come back to you in an acid rain. So we want to send good words up. We want to unclog all the pipes and let amazing blessings come down. And this is how we do it. Every blessing will start with the word Baruch. Mother and father come together. Then you have Atah. What does Atah do? It builds the next circle, but it doesn't fill it with light yet. It just builds the base, the frame, the vessel. It's a vessel with no light. Are you following me? All right. Then you have the name of God. That's that really powerful name of God I wrote on the board. Its numerical value is 26. Okay? That name of God builds this circle here, Tiferet, but just the vessel, no light yet. So now I already got some kind of system going on. Baruch atah Hashem, I don't want to say the name. Elokeinu builds this circle here, Givurah. So you have Chesed, Tiferet, Givurah. Okay? So far, this is what. Now, you don't need to remember this. You just need to know that it happens. The next word, Melech HaOlam. What does Melech HaOlam mean in Hebrew? The king of the world. Who is the king of the world? Who is? The light is. So this is what, when I say Melech HaOlam, what I'm doing, when I say Melech HaOlam, I'm restricting those vessels to Bina, and I'm saying, go to Bina, go to the king of the world. I'm doing restriction. I don't want the energy. Go there. Go to the light. So we send the vessels of Chesed, Tiferet, and Gevurah back into Bina to get the light. It's like, when you send, it's like you send somebody to get a massage, and they come back and they're all energized and sweet. That's what we send the vessels, and we say, you know what? I don't want the light. I'm pushing it back to the king of the world. But then, Asher, the next word, comes from the word, Asher. Asher Kidshanu is where the light says, okay, here you go, you can have it back, right? Anything you let go, you always get back. Asher is the same Hebrew word for permission, ishur. So the light says, I give you permission. Continue, please. Here's your vessels back. Okay? Continue. Here's the light. Take it all. Thank you very much. I got it back. Every time you let something go, you get it back. Now it has light though. Asher Kitshanu b'mitzvotav is Netzach and Hod. Vetzivanu is Yesod. And then whatever you want to bless. Okay? Al netilat yadayim. A blessing of the hands, the washing of the hands. All right? Does that make sense? Sounds confusing. Don't even need to remember it. All you need to know is this amazing system of drawing light, restricting light, letting it go, getting permission to eat the food because it's coming from the light, not from my own selfish desires. It's all happening when I bless. When I bless my hands, when I bless food. Now, there's some blessings, by the way, that don't have all these words here. They're just Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz, for the bread or whatever. Same things happening. I don't want to go into the details. The same things are happening. All right? It's going to confuse a lot of you because a lot of you are new. But listen to this lesson 2 years from today and it's totally going to make sense. All right? Now, if you want to know what are the blessings behind food, behind all this stuff, get the Dialing God book. All the blessings are there. Okay? All the blessings are there. I need to move quickly. Last thing is, because the video is going to end soon, these are the most important points to remember for eating. Okay? Avoid unkosher meats and fishes. Eat and break bread at the right time. Shabbat, holidays, Rosh Chodesh. And not before you sleep. It's not good to eat a lot before you sleep. The soul can't elevate. Bless the food. Awaken the light within the food to fix the piping of the upper world. Number 4, chew your food well. Separate the negativity from the light. Eat your drinks and drink your foods. 5, eat and drink greens, central column energy, power of restriction. 6, mostly drink greens and water, purifying your body, the energy of life. Break addiction to any food. 8, never eat too much, causes illnesses and loss of consciousness. 9, learn something spiritual every meal. Every meal, try to learn something, or try to think of something spiritual, because it elevates the sparks of light. 10, eat with good people. Eating is one level below intercourse. So you want to eat with good people as much as possible. As much as possible. All right, guys?
Quick question.
Yes?
When you learn something new in every meal, is specifically in the Shabbat or in every meal that we, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner,
In every meal, I would try to learn something for 30 seconds. I would remember a lesson I learned. I just think about it. Just to think about it. But Shabbat especially, that's why we always have like a lecture every meal. Yes?
What does white wine mean?
White wine, it's still the energy, left column, drawing energy. It's not as powerful as red wine though. All right, guys. Thank you so much.